Hi everybody, Freddy here. I'd like to do today how to play role-playing games. I know this is a very broad subject, but it's something that's been playing over my mind for a few weeks. You see, I've mentioned on other videos that both my sons play role-playing games as well. And obviously both of them picked my brains for the experience I've gained playing Dungeons & Dragons and other role-playing games for 30-odd years now. And they watch a lot of YouTube as well. Now, something that came up in a discussion with my eldest son when we were driving to our game, funnily enough, on a Saturday night, was one of the YouTubers he respects a lot basically said there's a wrong way to play role-playing games. That a certain style, people who don't take things seriously and that kind of stuff are playing games wrong. And while they can have fun, that, you know, they're not doing it right. So I would like to go through a few headings that I've written down, which, to me, describe how you should play role-playing games, what you should do. And although I don't follow all these, and I'm not terribly good at all of them, they have generally helped me enjoy role-playing games for 32, 33 years. So, on with the list. First, prepare. Now, this is something I'm terrible at. I'm a married man with 2 kids. I run my own company. Time I do not have a load of. So, sitting down and reading the rules and learning them, finding out about the background, writing a character description. These are all things I tend to skip a lot, which isn't good. What you should really do is prepare. You're going in as a person in this world, and you should have a passing knowledge of it. It's obviously a lot easier if you're playing something Cyberpunk or Star Wars, but Dungeons & Dragons, you could be in any one of a number of worlds. The Forgotten Realms, Dragonlance, oh, I've even forgotten the name of the other one. But this Greyhawk, that's it. You could be in any one of these worlds, and they're all subtly different. So prepare, learn about the game world. Now, this next one's for the Games Masters. Don't be competitive. While role-playing games are games, they're not a competitive game. If you as a Games Master want to win, then you can have a lightning bolt come down and kill a player. You can have your first level characters confronted by a dragon or a 20th level assassin or whatever, who will slaughter them, and you win. Well done. But what you're actually trying to do as a Games Master is not compete with the players. What you're trying to do is weave an interesting story and create a game. So the success for you as a Games Master is when the players are enjoying it. Now, that's not going easy on them. That's not letting them constantly win, get all the +5 magic swords, get all the gold, save the day every week. Because that's easy and that's not fun. You want to challenge them, but you don't want to bully them. And that kind of leads on to the next one. No power playing. Lots of players will build the toughest character. Consider your average Dungeons & Dragons party. You've got the Barbarian with 100 hit points at 6th level or whatever. You've got Wizard who's got about 30. You've got the Cleric who's got about 50. Now, the Barbarian can easily go around and bully the other characters. He's got way more hit points, he probably dashes out a lot more damage. but that shouldn't be the end all and be all of his character. You should not be using your character to bully other people. And that also leads straight on to the next one, which is work together. This is a team game. Although you can have conflict within the party, you can have the paladin and the evil priest in the same party coming against each other and trying to do things. But the players themselves should be working together to weave an interesting story. And working together also leads on to my next one, which is follow the plot. While a role-playing game gives you the world, you meet up in the pub, there's the dwarf in the corner telling you that there's a dragon menacing the village, and you decide to wander off to the next town and start trading to make your riches through trade. Well, the Games Master's not prepared that. The dwarf was there because that's the direction the plot lies in. The dwarf told you where you're supposed to be going, and to keep the story interesting, while you can make it go your own way, while you should listen to the dwarf and hear about the dragon, and you can maybe come up with an interesting way of dealing with it, it's obvious that the plot that week is dragon menacing town. And you've just got to follow it. You've got to work with the GM. As well as working with each other, you've got to work with the Games Master. Now, my next one is don't break someone else's scene. While we're there for fun, and I know amongst the group of my friends, we're all older, we've known each other for 20 to 30 years, we've got families, we've got stories to tell each other, we've got bosses at work to gripe about, we've got movies we've seen we know so-and-so will want to know about. And that conversation happens at the game table. But you don't break in on somebody else's scene. When the brave paladin is rescuing the princess and they're having a romantic moment as he's about to get wed into the royal family or whatever, or he's grieving over his brother who died, or whatever, when the character and the GM are working together to create an interesting scene, you don't step on that. Hold your tongue for 5 minutes, crack the jokes later, let somebody else take the game. While there may be 5 or 6 of you trying to get attention, that means that one person should be able to have attention for a while. Next point is play the character. If you create a noble paladin who fights for the poor and all that kind of stuff, you then don't have him going to the poor villagers, well, give us more cash, we deserve more. You've written your character, you've chosen what it's going to be like. Just because you're feeling grumpy one night, you should be acting that character. Not play acting, but working out what that character would do. And dwelling through them. So when you're creating your character, you've got to kind of work out which part of yourself it's going to be. Play the character. An important thing, which I've had to remind both my sons of from time to time, is player versus character knowledge. It goes back to your preparation and your playing of the character. If your character is from Trumpton and has never journeyed outside, while you may know that, the Archwizard controls the next city, does your character know that? And worse, when you get into role-playing for 30 years, sometimes you end up going through the same adventure twice under different games masters, which has happened a few times in my group, especially as we play a lot of Star Wars. So I know that we've gone through Tatooine Manhunt twice in Star Wars. Now, we know what's coming. We know that in a certain Dungeons & Dragons adventure, if we go through the door, there's goblins waiting to ambush us. But our character doesn't know that, and we shouldn't ruin it. And that goes to player knowledge as well. Like, you glimpse that the Games Master rolls a 20. You glimpse behind the screen and see a type of creature open in the monster manual. Your character doesn't know that. You know it. You've got to draw a line and keep them separate and play your character with just the knowledge they've got. Something I mentioned before, this next one comes to, is don't do it if it makes you feel uncomfortable. If you're playing a character and you're quite happy being the heroic type, saving the day, and then there's a blood sacrifice to be done, and you feel just a bit icky, you don't do it. Some players like to have romances in character. You know, you'll save the beautiful priestess, and she'll throw herself at you because you are the brave knight. But some players don't feel comfortable doing that. Romance, sex, if you're comfortable doing it, do it. If you're not, don't. And this even goes into voice acting. I know a bunch of Games Masters who like to put on voices. The halfling child, oh, hello, and whatever. I personally don't like doing that. It makes me very self-conscious that, am I doing the right voice? I'm not a natural impersonator at all, as you can probably just tell from my, oh, hello, halfling voice. But if it doesn't make you feel comfortable, if it makes you feel uncomfortable, don't do it. You don't need to voice act. The game's supposed to be in the imagination. And the biggie, the most important one of all, is my last. How to play role-playing games? Have fun. Role-playing games are games. You're supposed to play a game to have fun. And if you're having fun by making stupid jokes at the undead wizard's expense, then you're having fun and you're playing the game right. If you're cracking jokes and doing voices out of that week's Adventure Time or Rick and Morty, you're having fun. Have fun and you're playing a game right. And that's my tips. Prepare. Don't be competitive with the Games Master, and the Games Master shouldn't be competitive with you. Don't try and power play. Don't try and rule the game by bullying others with your character. Work as a team, even with the Games Master. Follow the plot. Don't break into other people's scenes. When they are allowed to have the game, they're allowed to have the game. Play your character. Keep your knowledge and the character knowledge separate. Don't be uncomfortable. And have fun. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you later.